It is such a pleasure to be here today. I'm also extremely thrilled to be here in the presence of other technology luminaries such as Synopsys, VMware, Siemens, Cisco, AMD, and Microsoft and IBM, who have made Armenia their home for their technology and for their accomplishments. I would also really like to thank the UEICT for bestowing on me this incredible honor. I wanted to first start a little bit with Adobe and to talk about Adobe. Adobe has been in business for approximately 40 years, and our mission is to change the world through digital experiences. I hope all of you have heard in some way about Adobe. We're the company that makes products like Photoshop or PDF, and we continue to believe that there is a tremendous opportunity for us to continue to invest in technology. Our key focus areas including unleashing creativity, so anybody who has a story to tell, we like to enable them to tell their story. Accelerating document productivity, this is all about being able to create documents and share documents. And most recently, powering digital businesses. All of us are engaging with our customers increasingly on digital, and that's been Adobe's latest area of invention as well as investment. And it was in the area of powering digital businesses that we really started to create a presence here in Armenia. We bought a company called Workfront, and Workfront was really focused on enabling people to collaborate. We all know that enabling multiple people, multiple stakeholders to collaborate is a really important strategic initiative. And we're thrilled to have a massive presence here in Yerevan. In fact, later today, we're going to be opening a new building that we have. And so the R&D facility that we have here in Armenia helps us with our powering digital businesses. And that is the business that is also the fastest growing business for Adobe today. I think we all recognize today that digital is transforming every aspect of our life, how we live, how we work, and how we play. And there isn't a single engagement that we have today, whether it is getting a travel arrangement, whether it's staying in a hotel, whether it's interfacing with medical professionals, whether it's education, that hasn't been impacted by digital. And this is, I think, an area that is only going to continue in terms of importance of how digital transforms every aspect of how we live, work, and play. I think when we think about digital, we just continue to believe that Adobe's role is to enable people to create these digital experiences, to manage these digital experiences, as well as to deliver these experiences. And whether you're in financial services, whether you're in retail, whether you're in travel and hospitality, whether you're in government, I think the usage of digital is only going to enable you to create and deliver a much better digital experience. When we take a step back and think about technology, and I know that the entire conference is about how technology can enable people to have smarter cities or smarter citizens or smarter governments, it's very clear that there have been significant tectonic shifts in technology, each of which has built on the previous generation of technology. So when you think about PC or the cloud or web or social, and now in the age of artificial intelligence, it's very clear that technology has had a profound impact on every aspect of society and how we live. I think when we started in the PC era, it was all about empowering individuals to have access to technology. And the PC era, I think, was characterized by the fact that every single individual finally had access to computing technology that was previously only available to a very few set of people. When we moved to the mobile era, the very interesting thing associated with mobile was that now you did not have to be tethered to a computer in order to have access to computing. Computing was actually becoming more ubiquitous, and you had access to computing irrespective of where you were. And Adobe also benefited from both the PC era as well as the mobile era. In the PC era, Adobe invented what is now called PostScript, and enable desktop publishing to happen with products like Illustrator, as well as products like PostScript, which enabled you to print anything that you saw on a screen. In the mobile era, what started to happen was that people had access to that same kind of computing power, irrespective of where they were. In the social era, it was certainly companies like Instagram and Meta and other companies that said how we enable people to collaborate and not only do better things in technology, but also to accomplish social change became a far more important thing. And I believe that all these eras of technology actually build on top of each other. And so the benefit to society is not just that one technology wave builds on each other, but it's an exponential wave of benefit that happens. And so, we now find ourselves building on the PC era, the mobile era, the social era, and the internet era with what is happening in artificial intelligence. And certainly there are a lot of positive things about artificial intelligence, and there are some concerns. And I'll touch a little bit on how we see artificial intelligence at Adobe. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that every one of these tectonic shifts in technology has only made technology more accessible, it's made it more ubiquitous, and it has helped society as a whole. When we think about artificial intelligence, we believe that there are three areas where every country, every company has to think about how they harness the power of artificial intelligence. The first is data. What kind of data are you training your models on, and how are you thinking about the data, whether it's citizen data, whether it's healthcare data, whether it's financial data. So I think architecting for the AI era, every country has to think about what data they possess and what they're going to do with corporate governance associated with that data. All of the interest, certainly in artificial intelligence right now, is about models. What is happening with large language models, products like ChatGPT, which have actually accomplished the highest amount of usage, greater than any other technology invention in the past, when you've gone from 0 to 100 million users. And so thinking about models and how companies are thinking about whether you're in financial services, what's the financial service model, what a healthcare model, and how you might cure disease. I think that is the second aspect of artificial intelligence that is becoming increasingly important. But I think at the end of the day, what really happens when you think about artificial intelligence is at the apps and interfaces layer. These are the products that each one of us use. And the more that technology can be used to ensure that each one of us, whether we're a citizen or whether a customer, whether they really know us, I think that is going to be critical in how AI can really help all of us with whatever we are interested in accomplishing. So I'm very excited. Adobe is investing very significantly in the artificial intelligence area. And across each one of these layers, we believe that we have a differentiated solution. So as it relates to data, we believe that we only need to train our data on data that we have license for. I think as it relates to models, everything to do with imaging or artwork or vectors or video or animation is an area that Adobe is investing in. But I think, again, it's the apps and interfaces in products like Photoshop or products like Acrobat that you really use that the real value is accrued to customers and to citizens. So as we think about what might happen in this and the implications for countries, there are four areas that I think are important, whether it's for Armenia, whether it's for the United States, or in fact, it's for every country. The first is, how do you use artificial intelligence to improve innovation and productivity? If the access to computing is already ubiquitous, I think every person is going to be thinking increasingly about how artificial intelligence is going to make them more productive. How can you take routine tasks that exist and enable those to be automated through the use of artificial intelligence? If you're doing healthcare and healthcare discovery, how do you make sure that the ability to create personalized medicines is something that is available for every single citizen? I truly believe that education will also be transformed. And the reality is that now on a mobile device and with artificial intelligence, every student in the world can have access to a personal tutor. So I believe that innovation and productivity is going to see a massive increase with the appropriate use of artificial intelligence. All of this needs to be thought about with respect to data governance as well as privacy. And every country has to think about what they are doing as it relates to the sovereignty of their data. Is the data stored within their country boundaries? And how are people going to take advantage of it? So I think every country is also thinking about AI regulation. What are the use cases of how AI can be used to do good? And what are the potential unintended consequences? And Adobe is also working with the US government, for example, to make sure that we continue to push the envelope on what happens with data governance and privacy, because that is an important consideration to ensure that citizens' privacy is kept the way it needs to be. I think the exciting area for artificial intelligence for every country and an implication is as it relates to workforce development. I think you've seen an incredibly vibrant technology community here in Armenia by investing in education. And I think the more you can invest in education with artificial intelligence, it's that workforce development and an investment in workforce and universities, including in high schools and colleges, that I think is going to be significantly important to continue to make sure that every country continues to benefit from the benefits of AI. And last but not least, I think as you believe in AI, you have to continue to push the envelope on what is the regulatory compliance and accountability, and making sure that as we think about it, and I'll touch a little bit about 3 areas in which Adobe is focused. So the benefits are clearly there for citizens and smart citizens. You now have the ability to get all of the resources that a country can provide for you. I think in smart cities, being able to deal with climate, being able to deal with traffic, being able to deal with energy is all possible now through AI. But all of them will require regulatory compliance and accountability to make sure that this innovation is done in a respected way. I think as it relates to Adobe, there are 3 areas where Adobe is really focused on how we think about it, and so I wanted to share that with you. The first is harmful bias. The second is intellectual property and thinking about intellectual property. And the third is about misinformation. And I think this is important as we all think about AI and investing in AI, how we deal with these 3 areas. I think as it relates to harmful bias, we all know that artificial intelligence and all computing actually has to do with pattern matching. So what a computer is good at is being able to take a bunch of data and then do pattern matching associated with it. And the artificial intelligence that you develop is only going to be as good as the data on which it is trained. And so ensuring that there are appropriate amounts of data and there are no biases associated with the data is really important. And so at Adobe, we've created an AI ethics group, and I think that is something that countries as well as companies need to think about to make sure that the data on which this AI is trained is responsible data and reflects the diversity of a particular country or diversity of the data on which this needs to be trained. I think thinking about intellectual property, we are in an area where everybody is going to be thinking about what does it really mean to protect intellectual property on which all of these artificial intelligence models are trained. Do you have transformative rights? Do you have derivative rights? Do you have, in fact, even rights to train your artificial intelligence? And so on the intellectual property side, again, Adobe has decided that we will only train our data on data that we have licensed for. So I think this is, again, something that's really important to preserve the art, to preserve the intellectual property, both of countries as well as of companies. And last but not least, with the amount of information that computers are producing, I think it's really important to think about misinformation. And we all know that while Adobe produces the world's information, we also have taken a real responsibility towards making sure that that information is treated in an appropriate way. Adobe started this organization called the Content Authenticity Information. And what the Content Authenticity Agency is all about is to make sure that any piece of data that's created, that we have information about who the author was, what the provenance of that information was, And I think that's going to be increasingly important, because when computers are able to create images or create videos or write text as ChatGPT does, then it's important to understand, is that information truthful? Where did that information come from? And what is, as we call it, the nutrition label associated with it? So this is a new initiative that Adobe started. We're fortunate that we now have over 2,000 companies. But I think thinking about misinformation, again, as it relates to how governments think about the use of AI is important. As a number of you know, we are going to have an election again in the United States next year. And last year also, last time the election was there was a lot of questions about, where does information come from? So while AI has all the benefits that I talked about last time, in other words, the ability to transform healthcare as we know it, the ability to transform medicine as we know it, the ability to transform financial inclusion as we know it, I think it's important to make sure that that innovation is also guided by things such as ensuring that you don't have harmful bias, making sure that the intellectual property is appropriately protected, as well as thinking about misinformation and what that means to companies and to countries. I would like to again, express my heartfelt thanks for bestowing on me this high-tech award. Adobe is very proud to have a presence here, and we continue to invest in the intellectual property that the team here in Yerevan does. And with that, I'd like to pass it on. Thank you again for having me today.
Շնորհակալություն։
Okay.
Կարծում եմ շատ լավ հնարավորություն է օգտագործելու համար, եկեք հարց ու պատասխան մի քանի րոպե, ովքեր ունեն հարցեր պարոն Նարայենին, եթե կարելի է փոխանցենք նաև թարգմանչական սարքը։
Okay.
Խնդրում եմ ձեռք բարձրացրեք, ձեզ միկրոֆոնը կմոտեցնեն, ովքեր հարց ունեն։ Ձեռքեր այս կողմում, խնդրում եմ։
Բարև ձեզ։ Շնորհակալ եմ շատ ներկայացնութի համար, շատ հետաքրքիր էր հենց ձեզանից լսել Adobe մոտեցումներ, նոր տեխնոլոգիական զարգացումներին։ Ես առիթ եմ ունեցել աշխատել տարբեր software product-ների հետ, բայց Հայաստանում կոնկրետ դրանց օգտագործումը հաշմանդամություն ունեցող մարդկանց շրջանակում համարյա թե միշտ անտեսվում է։ Հետաքրքիր է Adobe մոտեցումը, առհասարակ ինչպիսի առաջնահերթություն է տրվում այս հարցի շուրջ, ինչ մոտեցումներ ունեք ու ինչպես եք տեսնում հենց նոր տեխնոլոգիական զարգացումը այս մարդկանց կյանքը ավելի հեշտ դարձնելու մեջ։ Շնորհակալություն։
Thank you very much for the question, and I think that is an area that Adobe has invested and will continue to invest. I think if you take a step back, there is no question that technology has enabled people to do amazing things, and if people don't have access to technology, then they will be disadvantaged. And so I'll give you a couple of examples, but we're certainly happy to follow up if there are specific issues of how we can make our software even better for usage within Armenia for those who aren't privileged enough. One example is what we have done with PDF, and when you can do also accessibility for PDF so that people who don't have the ability to read, how you can convert from text to speech. And so that's one of the areas. Certainly, I think with all of our other visual products, being able to speak to computers is the other way in which we are doing it. But it is an area where all technology companies need to invest more. So thank you for your question. It's certainly an area of significant importance for us. And we will continue to do the things that we can do to make sure our technology is accessible to everybody, because that is an important area of responsibility for a company like Adobe. Thank you.
Շնորհակալություն։ Հարց։
Hello, thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Narayan. My name is Karin Simonian. I'm an IT entrepreneur. And the question
Մի
is the
քիչ
following.
բարձր խնդրում եմ մոտ պահեք։
Yeah, and the question is the following. You are talked about investment in Armenia and etc. It's very good. What do you think about geopolitics risks here in Armenia and what we can do to, in order to stay here, continue your development, investment, and etc. So what we can do and what you can do together in order Armenia can stay stable here in this political and difficult region. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your question. By no means am I a geopolitical expert, so I reserve, I don't comment on that. But I think to your question, companies like Adobe and in fact all other technology companies, we say we're in the intellectual property business. And the intellectual property is our people. And so I think any investment in education, we have actually had numerous collaborations with universities. Arsen, who heads up the Adobe R&D office here, was telling me yesterday about further collaborations that we're doing with universities. So I think the things that we can do, and I believe the things that countries can do, is to invest in education. I think a scientific education today is an important thing. It is amazing to see in the United States, a lot of the universities, actually computer science is now the #1 undergrad, curriculum in most universities, which is amazing because, it used to be arts and now it's math and computer science. So I believe that whether it's Armenia or other countries, I think continuing to invest in education and what companies like us can do to ensure that our technology is available. The other thing that we do is make our software available at a significant discount to educational institutions. So again, I'm the technology expert and that is the area in which I continue to focus. But we have been absolutely delighted with the reception that we have got in Armenia, the interest in continuing to have technology companies, the fact that you're doing events like this. I was fortunate enough to also meet with the Minister for Information, and he again impressed upon me how you want to continue to create relationships. So thank you for that partnership, and we will continue to invest as long as we have access to people, because at the end of the day, we're a people business.
Շնորհակալություն։ Այնտեղ վերջում։
Hello, it is great honor to have you here. My name is Edgar Khachatryan. I'm also a tech entrepreneur and used to travel around the world and meet people like you. By the way, congratulations with your generative AI, Firefly.
Thank you.
I want to ask you about collaboration with alpha companies like Adobe. What you will suggest startups and the venture fund which are trying to make a tandem and joint ventures with Adobe. Do you have or other alpha companies have something like Salesforce to open gate for new companies which are trying to collaborate with you? Thank you.
Well, first, I should have acknowledged even in my prepared remarks the incredibly vibrant startup community that exists in Armenia. I was exposed to the number of companies that are being formed here. And I think, entrepreneurship is something that is very near and dear to me. I started a company before I joined Adobe 25 years ago. Unfortunately, the company was unsuccessful. Fortunately, that took me to Adobe, so things have actually worked out for me. But I think as it relates to partnering with Adobe, we have a presence here. We certainly, whether it's distribution, whether it's investments, we have a venture fund as well. So we're happy to follow up. And I think, again, I think maybe as part of this, we will make our, leadership available for you to engage with. But we believe in an ecosystem, maybe 30 seconds on that front. Adobe has always believed in an open ecosystem. If you think about PostScript from day one was an open standard. PDF, the number of companies that have made a business on PDF is because it's an open standard. As well as with Photoshop, you can build plugins and extend the functionality. So we believe great ideas come from everywhere. We want to leverage great ideas from entrepreneurs such as yourself. And if there's a relationship or engagement, we'll certainly follow up. Thank you.
Շնորհակալություն եւ վերջին հարցը այն կողմից էլի։
Hi, good morning, Mr. Narayen. First of all, congratulations on the prize. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you.
You spoke quite a big deal about the AI technology, and my question is about whether or not you believe that AI at some point will come in the way of professional workers and replace people, or will it simply be a useful tool and continue to be a useful tool in the years to come? Thank you.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why I wanted to answer that question about tectonic shifts was I think during every tectonic shift, when the PC era came about, when the internet era came about, when mobile era came around, there's always been questions and concerns about what the disruption of that will be on jobs and on productivity. So artificial intelligence, it's not a new phenomenon in terms of the questions about what technology impact will be on people. I am a big believer in human ingenuity. Adobe is, you know, in the creative business. Firefly is our generative AI technology. I believe that Firefly is a phenomenal technology as an on-ramp, but it will not replace human creativity. So I believe that somebody has this expression which I liked, which is they said, it's not AI that will replace humans, but it's humans who use AI who may replace other humans who are not using AI. And so I'm a big believer in using technology. I'm a big believer that there will be, unfortunately, some disruption. But again, it goes back to that's why you need to invest in people. But I think at least, you know, for the foreseeable future, computers, I don't believe in general intelligence yet. I believe in this on-ramp, and I think it'll be very good. But I'm clearly getting the time limit, so thank you again very much for having me here today.